Hi, Firsties. Yesterday we were learning a little bit about President's Day. Today I thought we'd learn about another important leader from that time period. It's George Washington's wife. Her name is Martha Washington. She is the First Lady of America. So let's go learn more about her now. Martha Washington was a First Lady of the United States. Martha was the first woman to have that role. She was an example for future first ladies, and here she is now. Let's learn more about her. Here's her early life. Martha was born on June 2nd, 1731. She grew up on a plantation, and this is a picture of her house. Her mother taught her to read and write. This was unusual for a girl at this time. Many girls were not educated back then. Remember, Abraham Lincoln only went to school for a few months, and George Washington only for a few years. And many girls did not get any schooling at all, so it was very unusual. Leader. Martha's first husband died, so she then married George Washington in 1759. Later, the Revolutionary War in 1775 through 1783 began, and George led the colonial army. So remember, she already lost her first husband, and now her second husband just left to lead an army. George was a general. He was not president yet at this time when they got married, and Martha lived with him at the army camp during the winter. So imagine that she was living at the campground with all these men. And she helped the other wives support their husbands who were fighting. She helped cook, you can see, and be there to support them. In 1789, George Washington became the first U.S. president, and Martha became the first lady. There was no White House yet, and the first family lived in New York. They later moved to Philadelphia. And there they are now. Martha knew future first ladies would follow her example, so she hosted gatherings, and both lawmakers and ordinary citizens were invited. She wanted to be a good leader, right? Because she knew others would look to her for guidance. Martha was known for being welcoming. She made all the guests feel comfortable. Martha showed them that they were important in the new government. I heard that when I visited her house, you can still go visit it now where her and George lived, that she was so welcoming that people took advantage of her niceness and sometimes would stay at her house for months, and she would cook and take care of those people while they were there. That's very kind. Her legacy. The Washingtons left office in 1797. They moved back to their farm in Virginia. This is the house I was telling you about that you can go still visit today. Martha died on May 22nd, 1802. She and her husband are remembered for shaping a new country. And here's some more information about Martha Washington. It's quick statistics in case you forgot. Well, she was born June 2nd, 1731 in Williamsburg, Virginia. Her husbands were Daniel Parke Custis, who died, and then she married George Washington. The years she served as First Lady were from 1789 to 1797. She is known for being the first woman to become the First Lady of the United States. She died May 22nd, 1802. These are important things that happen. Well, Martha Dandridge is born. That's her. She married Daniel Parke Custis, 1750, and he died 7 years later. 2 years after that, she married George Washington on January 6th. It wasn't right away. 16 years later, the Revolutionary War was fought in 1775. Then in 1789, George Washington became president, and Martha Washington becomes the First Lady. Martha Washington then died on May 22nd in 1802. Just like most nonfiction books, in the back you'll find the glossary. Remember, this has the important words. These are key words for you to understand in order to understand what the text is about. So, citizen, that is a person who has full rights in a country, such as the right to live there and the right to vote. Colonial army, those are the forces who fought for the American colonies during the Revolutionary War. At the time, America belonged to England, and George Washington led his army to defeat them, and America became our own country. He was the general, the commander of an army. Plantation, that's a large farm where crops are grown to be sold. And lawmaker, that's a person who makes the laws. If you wanted to find out more about any of this information, you can go to the pages shown here by the words. And you can also learn about other important first ladies, such as Laura Bush, Jacqueline Kennedy, Michelle Obama, Nancy Reagan, or Eleanor Roosevelt. Remember, all these books are free to you to read on Epic. Let's go ahead and respond in a read and respond book now. I'll get mine out. You get yours. Mine is pink. It doesn't matter what color, as long as it has the metal binding. Make sure you keep a sticky note so it's easy for you to find your page. You're going to tell me one thing you learned about Martha Washington. Afterwards, you'll color and draw in a picture. If you need to rewatch the video to learn some more, please do so. So we're going to start with one thing. So one, capital O-N-E, one, space, thing, th, T-H, ing, I-N-G. I, whenever we're talking about ourselves, it must be a capital. It's like a name. So capital I. One thing I learned. O, E, A, and then do you hear it? Learn. Yeah, that's an R. Learned. It's a ED because it already happened. Past tense verb, right? We add ED. One thing I learned about. A, b, ow. Ow this time is O-U. T, about. There's a word you might know inside of it. Out. O-U-T. One thing I learned about Martha, capital M, Martha. Martha. Now we're going to spell Washington again. Let's see how you do. Capital W. Osh. In. Ton. Washington. I had to squish it in there. Sorry. Is. You tell me one thing you learned about her. And then draw and color in a picture. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just do your best. I can't wait to see what you learn. Bye, firsties. See you soon.